When an ambush is professionally set up and executed, there won't be many survivor stories. There is something profoundly unsettling about the suddenness with which an ambush strikes, catching its targets off guard, in an unfavorable place, leaving them with little time to react, and often resulting in catastrophic consequences. Throughout history, it has been shown many times how terrifyingly effective an ambush can be, and how a small, well-organized group can decimate a significantly stronger enemy. In ancient or modern times, regardless of the types of weapons used, ambushes have been the greatest fear of every army. Today, we will talk about some extremely effective ambush tactics and discuss the countermeasures armies use to protect themselves from them. The definition of an ambush is essentially a surprise attack carried out by people lying in wait in a concealed position. It can be executed by small groups of just a few people or even a single person, such as a sniper, but it might also involve thousands of soldiers on a large scale. It can also be short or long in duration and can range from the distance of a hand grenade to a maximum standoff. An ambush can be set up in many different ways, depending on whether you want just to harass the enemy or completely destroy them. Every ambush begins with detailed planning and finding a favorable ambush site. An ambush site provides clear fields of fire into the kill zone, offers cover and concealment for the attackers, and includes obstacles to trap the enemy. The site also ensures a safe withdrawal route for the ambushers while preventing the enemy from launching a flank attack. The kill zone is the critical area where concentrated fire is directed to isolate or destroy the enemy, and where the enemy is likely to enter or includes natural obstacles to trap them. Let's start with the L-shaped ambush. It is designed to maximize the effectiveness of interlocking fields of fire, creating a deadly kill zone where the enemy is caught in a crossfire. This tactic is particularly effective in areas with natural choke points, such as a sharp turn in a road, a narrow trail, or along a stream, where the enemy's movement is restricted and predictable. How it works? In an L-shaped ambush, the attacking force is divided into two main elements: the assault element and the support element. The assault element positions itself along the long leg of the L, parallel to the enemy's expected path of movement. This positioning allows them to deliver flanking fire directly into the kill zone as the enemy advances. The support element forms the short leg of the L, situated at a right angle to the assault element, usually at the head of the kill zone. This positioning allows the support element to deliver enfilading fire across the enemy's line of movement, catching them in a deadly crossfire from two directions. The ambush is often initiated by a marksman or sniper targeting the enemy leader. This opening shot aims to create immediate chaos by decapitating the chain of command, leading to confusion and disorganization among the enemy ranks. Simultaneously, claymore mines or IEDs may be detonated to cause maximum initial casualties, further disorienting the enemy and preventing any organized response. The Vietnam War provides numerous examples of effective L-shaped ambushes by Viet Cong and North Vietnamese forces against American patrols. In dense jungle environments, where visibility was limited and movement was slow, the L-shaped ambush proved highly effective. A typical scenario involved American forces moving cautiously along a jungle trail, unaware that they were being funneled into a well-prepared kill zone. Once the lead element of the patrol entered the kill zone, the Viet Cong would trigger the ambush. For forces caught in an L-shaped ambush, there are a few options, each with its own risks. In the case of a near ambush, within 50 meters, the best option may be to launch an aggressive assault straight into the ambushers, popping smoke grenades to obscure the enemy's line of sight and charging toward the source of fire. The idea is to close the distance quickly, disrupting the ambushers' plan and reducing the effectiveness of their crossfire. This option is highly dangerous, but may be the only chance of survival. In a far ambush, the defenders might opt to pull back to a safe distance and then maneuver to flank the ambushers, creating a smokescreen and withdrawing to a position where they can regroup. Ideally, a unit moving through potentially hostile territory would have an overwatch position, a separate element observing from a vantage point. When the ambush is sprung, the overwatch can provide suppressive fire, allowing the engaged unit to withdraw or counterattack. Defending against an L-shaped ambush is a daunting challenge, especially for less experienced units. The key to survival lies in immediate, decisive action, even if the decisions are wrong. Anything is better than remaining in the kill zone, where hesitation can be fatal. So what's worse than being ambushed from two sides? Being ambushed from all four. The box ambush is one of the most devastating ambush tactics, designed to completely encircle and annihilate an enemy force. In this formation, the attacking force positions itself on all sides of the enemy's expected path, creating a kill zone with fire coming from every direction, leaving the enemy with no way out. In a box ambush, the ambushing force divides into 4 elements, each taking up a position on one side of the kill zone, creating a box around the enemy. When the enemy enters the kill zone, often a narrow road, a trail through dense forest, or an open area in a valley, the ambush is sprung with simultaneous fire from all sides. The enemy, trapped in the center, is bombarded with interlocking fields of fire, making escape nearly impossible. The ambushing force aims to create a chaotic environment where the enemy is disoriented, unable to determine the direction of the main attack, and ultimately unable to mount a coherent response. It often happens that the attacked force becomes completely lost in the chaos, even killing each other in crossfire simply because they do not know where the attack is coming from. If you find yourself in this type of ambush, survival also hinges on quick, decisive action and the use of available resources. The defender's best option is to immediately charge one side of the ambush that seems to be the softest and easiest to break through. By concentrating fire and launching a fierce assault in a single direction, the defenders might punch a hole through the encirclement, creating a potential escape route. If escape is not an option, the only alternative might be to dig in and hold out, using whatever cover is available to minimize exposure and survive long enough for reinforcements to arrive. This tactic relies heavily on the defender's discipline and their ability to withstand the pressure of sustained fire from multiple directions. In some cases, pretending to flee in one direction might lure the ambushers into overextending themselves. If the defenders can draw part of the ambushing force out of their positions, they might create an opportunity to counter-ambush those who pursue, but this is extremely difficult to do under such chaotic circumstances. In addition to setting up an ambush and waiting for the enemy to walk into the kill zone, a so-called bait can also be used to lure and lead an unaware enemy into a prepared ambush. The bait and ambush tactic is a cunning strategic maneuver where a small, seemingly vulnerable force is used to draw the enemy into a trap. The bait engages the enemy briefly, creating the illusion of weakness or retreat, which entices the enemy to pursue. Once the enemy is fully committed and enters the designated kill zone, the main ambushing force, hidden and ready, strikes from concealed positions, often from multiple directions. The bait must appear convincing enough to make the enemy believe they have the upper hand, whether through a feigned retreat, disorder, or deliberate exposure. Once the enemy is within range, the attacking force then unleashes fire, overwhelming the enemy before they can regroup or retreat. One of the most famous examples of a successful bait and ambush tactic occurred during the American Revolutionary War at the Battle of Cowpens. To turn the tables when faced with a superior British force, American generals positioned their less experienced militia at the front, instructing them to fire 2 volleys at the advancing British and then retreat. The British, eager to capitalize on what appeared to be a collapsing American line, ordered their troops to pursue, chasing the retreating militia straight into a trap where veteran Continental soldiers were waiting just beyond the retreating militia. As the British advanced into the kill zone, the American troops opened fire, flanking the British on both sides. The militia regrouped and attacked from the rear, completing the encirclement. The British, caught in the middle of a well-executed ambush, were quickly overwhelmed and suffered heavy casualties. When executed correctly, this tactic turns the enemy's aggression and overconfidence against them, leading them into a deadly trap from which there is often no escape. To avoid or survive an ambush, soldiers must be vigilant and proactive. First, never use the same path twice, as routine makes you predictable and increases ambush risks. Always stay alert and employ ambush spotters, soldiers who move ahead and to the sides to detect potential threats. Learn to recognize danger signs like unusual disturbances, sudden silence, or obstacles on the road which could indicate an ambush. If attacked, respond immediately with suppressive fire to disrupt the enemy's plans. If in a vehicle, dismount and counterattack quickly or attempt to break through the ambush if possible. Trust your instincts. Experienced soldiers develop a sense for danger, and if something feels off, take precautions. These measures can reduce the likelihood of falling into an ambush and improve survival chances if caught in one.